screen 1 on the left-hand side.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. So you're getting the sign-ups.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. I will do that as well.
Good afternoon everyone, welcome to the 25th Leeds International Film Festival and the final day in our Méliès weekend competition. Both the short film that you're going to see and the feature Sennentuntschi Curse of the Alps are in competition. Both are penultimate. We have one other after this, which is Kill Me Please at the Hyde Park. The short film is called Holy Glory. It's actually based on a true story. I hope you do enjoy that. And then we have Sennentuntschi Curse of the Alps, and we have the director Michael Steiner here, who's just going to come and introduce the film, and then we'll be back afterwards for a Q&A session. So, Michael, if you'd just like to say hello and tell us a bit about the film.
Yes, thanks to you very much for coming in such a large number after this Hellenistic massacre I saw last night in the streets of Leeds. I'm happy you are here at this early time. The good thing about my movie is that the weather on the screen is the same as outside. It's grey. And that has a reason, because that movie plays with a myth, which is an old Swiss myth invented before the English invented tourism in my country. That means before the mountain world has become romanticized and connotated as something beautiful. At that time, mountains were raw and a danger for human beings, and the myth basically is derived from Pygmalion, but of course adapted for Catholic Church, that people don't do bad things in the mountains. We put that story in the 70s. It's probably the last period you might believe such a thing. I mean, the way the structure of the village was built. And played around a bit with structure and basically tried to make a postmodern adaptation of this oral history myth. So that's all I gotta say. I come to you after the movie and will answer some questions if there are some. Thank you very much for coming.
Right, so that was Sennentuntschi Curse of the Alps. Michael Steiner, director, back to answer a few questions for you. First thing I wanted to ask you, Michael, just before we open it to the audience, you were saying earlier that the film was based on a myth, and there's been kind of quite a few other films of that type come out recently. So we've had things like Rare Exports, which is obviously based around Santa Claus. We've had Troll Hunter as well. All those ones have kind of had quite a level of humour attached to them, whereas this was played much more seriously. So, were you aware that there were kind of all these other myth films being made at the same time, and did you make a conscious effort to make this more serious?
No, actually not. Okay. I'm rarely aware what's going on, and when you plan a movie it always takes 3 to 4 years, so you have actually no idea what's going on in the rest of the world or in Europe. So you're a little bit alone if you're right here. My approach was a serious one, yes, because I thought, but I think the tendency you're mentioning has to do with globalization, you know. Like corporate America, corporate England, and some kind of art and filmmakers start to find local spots or local stories to give a little bit of the culture of, like, let's say, oral history, you know, oral tradition, tell stories which are locally, which come from local, but maybe, as in that case, as with the Greek Pygmalion, something very similar as a background which is deeper in Western culture. That was more or less the point there.
Okay. It's been badged as Switzerland's first genre film, first kind of horror film. Why has it taken so long for Switzerland to make something that isn't kind of comedy or drama or kind
of... it has to do with Swiss film politics. This is actually the end of my trilogy about my country. And the first one was a comedy in the 60s, family movie, entertainment, and the second one was a political thriller about neoliberalism at the case of the Swiss grounding, the airline grounded. Mm-hmm. There were banks involved, and I was criticizing that in a mix between fiction and documentary. And these two movies were very successful, and I think they didn't read the screenplay, so they gave me the money.
It is quite brutal, some of the scenes in it, especially kind of violence towards women. Were you worried about how that might have been received both by the audience and by the censors?
Yes, actually very much. The point is that the imagination, when you have a lawless field like up there in the mountains, kind of these stories happen. Luckily, they don't happen today anymore. It's now more into the civilized. Plus, you got mobile phones and everything. And when anarchy starts to evoke in a negative way, then these things come out. And we didn't want to make the fairy tale version of it. We were very aware that you do kind of an adult thing in that movie, me and my writer. And I mean, compared to what people watch on the internet, it's easy.
Okay. Do you have any questions from the audience? Yeah. Okay.
I couldn't help but think about halfway through the film that it's the perfect film where obviously if it gained enough popularity that Hollywood would probably option to remake. How would you feel about that?
I was just in Los Angeles the last 3 weeks. Yes, they're thinking about it.
Really?
But it's very difficult in a way because that myth is very deep in Swiss society. It's known in the Alps, you know. You would have to rewrite the whole thing, let's say, for the Rocky Mountains. But this story also is, in Russia they have kind of missed. It's not with the herdsmen in the Alps there, it's with guys who go chase animals, you know, hunters. Hunters alone in the forests, and then kind of a woman appears that is a ghost. They have, in all different nations, especially in the East, in the Balkan, they have this kind of mythological character of that woman. And that woman is always being, in all the story, abused and then takes revenge. It's also kind of the 70s rape and revenge movies in the US, you know, which were very, very strong at this time, called very B movies, but it's a little bit also in that genre.
And one thing I wanted to ask, the majority of the film, if you take off the beginning where the little girl finds the boy, and then it turns out to be one of the missing people from the 70s, the rest of it could be a drama with no kind of supernatural elements to it.
Yeah.
So were you conscious that you wanted to put that in at the beginning to make people think about whether it was real or whether it was supernatural?
The nowadays time is the only time, and also the end of the movie where there is a ghost, the little boy, and the rest is all explainable in let's say in rational ways. And that was I wanted to do that. It was kind of a deconstruction of a myth. That was the goal when we started to work on that movie, but with letting the spectator believe, at least for some time, that it might be supernatural. That was a little bit the idea. Nobody believes Frankenstein anymore. We're much far too advanced in the sense of genetic manipulation of human beings, you know. I think the new Frankensteins are all cyborgs. So.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Michael, for coming in.
Thank you, Martin. Well, thanks, Leeds.